Hello, everybody. My name is Meriem Bouamrane. I'm at headquarters in UNESCO in Paris, working in the Man and the Biosphere program, and I'm very happy to be with you virtually in these strange times to present you in 10 minutes the global communication plan and strategy that was adopted in Sumatra 2 years ago in 2018, in July. So I'm just going to guide you through the global communication strategy and action plan, because it's very important for all the network to understand the shift that happened a few years ago and all the process that we started with the MAB Secretariat, the colleagues in the field offices, the Biosphere Reserves, the MAB National Committee. It was a very inclusive process with all the key stakeholders, and we also had some pilot biosphere reserves that tested some of the ideas and some of the tools. All the information I'm going to present to you, you will have it as a PowerPoint, as videos, as a toolkit that you can practice in your different biosphere reserves and with your different stakeholders. What is important is that we really wanted to see how we could communicate differently and engage more with the stakeholders in the biosphere reserves. And these are the 5 big shifts that we discovered during the inclusive and participatory process. And that you can see now on the screen is that we really wanted to engage in the conversation more than just give information or tell people what they should do. And I think it's particularly important in the context that we are all in, that we have the capacity and the tools to listen and to understand that there are different perspectives and different points of view. And what we want to do is engage in the conversation. I share my point of view, I listen to yours, and then we can find some background. But what was really important for us is to discover that we are talking with people, not talking to people about what we know. And this is coming to the second shift that was more that we in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves and in the Man and the Biosphere program, we really want to be a source of inspiration. We don't want to explain and convince people why they should do it or why biodiversity is important. We want to demonstrate by our actions, by our what we do in our daily life, why it's important, like role models, so inspiration more than explaining. And then the third shift that was really important for us was really, we talk a lot about the biosphere reserves are amazing places, and they are, but it's the people, it's the human part of it that is crucial in the Man and the Biosphere. And this is why we call it human and the biosphere. Because this connection between our humanity and the environment is absolutely crucial. And that's the heart of the program. And then we wanted also to share with you that the big shift in the communication was about sharing stories. People, we remember from our childhood stories that we were told, stories about our community, about our family, about our village, about our culture, our countries. And this is what we remember, it's stories. And maybe not so much all the scientific facts. They are important, but they maybe should not be the foundation of a conversation. They should be, complementing this conversation. But stories, people engage with stories, they can relate with stories. And this is why in the communication strategy, we provided the whole network with tools on how to make a story. And including stories through videos, like the Proud to Share campaign, and I will come back to that. And final point in the big shift was about also showing that living and working in a biosphere was a source of opportunity, not constraints. We live in a world, especially today, where there are lots of constraints, where our freedom is challenged. And so it's very important also that people understand that the Biosphere Reserve are places for opportunities and for creativity and for innovation. And so these are the big shifts that I wanted to share with you today. And it would be great that you reflect Does it speak to you? Is it something that you feel, yes, that works for me, or yes, I can connect to that, or not? And then we can engage also in a conversation. What I wanted also to share with you is the key elements of our strategy. It's been a long work, but there are objectives that I'm going to describe to you now. There is the storytelling, the way how you tell the story about who you are, why you work in a biosphere reserve, and what you do, and the different audiences that you would like to engage with. And in the process, we have identified some audiences. And then the messages. What messages are you going to deliver and to engage the conversation with this audience? What activities you are going to propose and build with them, and how you're going to measure the impact. These are the six really foundation building blocks of our communication strategy. Don't worry if I go too quick, you have all the material, but I just wanted to give you an overall picture in 10 minutes. This is what I've been asked to do. So the objectives, there are three, and they reflect to what I said about the big shift. The foundation is that the whole network tell a consistent story about who we are, why you participate and you engage in the World Network. And then there were three objectives that came out of our conversation with all of you. And so the first objective is, how can you inspire your stakeholders, your government, even your family, your friends, your workers, about why it's important, what you're doing in a biosphere reserve. The second objective was that you feel and you make feel people that they belong to the activity, to the life of the biosphere reserve, they belong to this planet. And we have this feeling more and more with the pandemic that we are going through now. And also, we want the Biosphere Reserve to be a place and a tool to empower people, to empower citizens, communities, to give them a chance, an opportunity to do things for the planet, for conserving and living in harmony with biodiversity. And so this foundation, the way we are going to tell the story about who we are and why we are in the Biosphere Reserve and why we belong to the values of UNESCO and the Man and the Biosphere program, this is going to help us to commit to a vision. And the vision, you know it, it's the Lima Action Plan vision and the vision of Seville that was updated in Lima in 2016. So you have an explanation in the toolkit and in the guide about what are the different objectives meaning, and you can choose to contribute to one of these three objectives or the three objectives. Some biosphere reserves do that. And then we have examples to provide you in the toolkit about how people do it, how people engaged and reach the objectives. You have examples from all around the world, and including biosphere reserve that were on the way to get their designation. So it's very important that there is this step-by-step approach and an engagement and a transparent way to engage the conversation with the different stakeholders. So there is no disappointment and there is no also expectations that are not met. It's important to build trust in the long term. So this is an example in North Holland, how they created the story by why they wanted to become a biosphere reserve and how they engage through different activities, the stakeholders. The foundation story is very important, and you will see some examples also in the toolkit. The foundation story has to explain to people who don't know why you are in a biosphere reserve or work in a biosphere reserve, why we exist. And this is the first here definition. We exist to inspire a positive future. We want people to look forward, especially in these days again. We want to show a direction that it's possible to live in harmony with nature, and we can do that together today. And how we demonstrate that, that's what I was saying about walking the talk, like being what we are inspiring, is through different values. And you may know that we have 4 core values that were identified during this process, that we are about celebrating life, especially these days again, that we are here to empower people, to give them the tools, the knowledge, the know-how, the experience, to have jobs that are respectful of the planet, that we also model solutions. We are places where there are lots of ideas and innovation, and that we are a network. We are not isolated. We are connected to each other, and we belong together to something that is bigger than just the biosphere reserve where you are. And so this is our proposal to our communities, to your stakeholders, but also to the whole world, that we are places with people that are proud of what they are doing and that show that it's possible to live in harmony with nature now, and that builds a future for their children and the next generations that we can be proud of. So that's a very powerful story foundation. And then we give you in the toolkit a way to tell your story following these tips. So it's possible, it's easy. You have just to reflect. I would love to see the Astoria, your Biosphere Reserve, Asterusia, telling the story based on that. That would be a very good exercise for your training classes, that you work on that, on telling your story. And this is the formula we have created, and it works. It has been tested in all different contexts and places. And this is also and this is an example again from South Africa, Vembe Biosphere Reserve, that you can look at. Don't copy, but you can get inspiration. That's what we are for. And then we use that storytelling to tell very powerful 1-minute video story that has a great success. We are having like more 100 videos now that are going to be put online. And next year we celebrate the MAB 50th anniversary. It will be awesome that you join and that you present to us the 1-minute video proud to share on your Biosphere Reserve and in Greece, and that we can in all the different countries that are participating to that course. We would be very happy for those of you who have not yet submitted a story and a video, that you do that and that you can join us in the celebration. So we also have identified, you will see that, some key audiences. And these are the 4 key audiences that were identified: community leaders, local businesses, children and youth, local residents. All of them were considered by key in the different biosphere reserves. And you have an explanation why they are important, their role in the biosphere reserve. You also have some tips how to engage with them in the conversation. And you also have some key messages that you can connect them with. So this is all in your guide, all in the toolkit. We have again some key examples how this was used. And I hope this is going to be a source of inspiration for all of you, and that you're going to be able to do some homework, linking the objective of the communication plan with the activities, the audience, the messages, and then, last but not least, also to measure the impact. You see all the examples that are going through my screens, measuring the impact of your activities. And that also, we have provided you with some ways to do that at the end of the toolkit, how you measure the impact of your communication activity, who you wanted to reach, how many people you have reached, how many funds did you invest in the activity, and how do you measure the impact. So that was a very short introduction, but I hope you have a complete overview of the amazing work that has been done in the MAB program and in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves to help you to communicate more effectively about why you are here, about your role, and how you can inspire beyond the boundaries of the Biosphere Reserves. Thank you very much.